Welcome to the 2014 edition of the 90 Degree Show, hosted by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. And here's your host, the Phantom Podcaster himself, Joe Beard.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the 90 Degree Show. I am your host, Joe Beard, and happy to be of service for you tonight. Today is October 5th, 2014, 5 o'clock on the West Coast and 8 o'clock on the East Coast. We appreciate all those listening live and listening in podcast form, whether through Blog Talk Radio, our website, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, or any other social media that you are on today. At the end of the broadcast, if you decide you like the show, then we appreciate a donation to the network if you feel so in your heart, of course. Just simply go to themarchingpodcast.com and click on the donate button to help improve the show and help build our scholarship fund. All right, we are excited to bring you another week here of the 90 Degree Show. We welcome the month of October to the network. Tonight, our featured matchup is the ATL Atlanta Classic featuring North Carolina A&T and South Carolina State University. I will touch base on the Battle of the Bands last week with Miles and Taladega. Prune Juice himself attended the Battle of the Bands in Dillon, South Carolina, and I believe he saw Edward Waters and Benedict College live. So we'll get the Prunalysis on that. Now, there are multiple matchups every week, and we cannot touch them all. But you can help us by calling into the number that you see there on your screen and fill us in on the experience and a matchup that we did not see. You can also call us in to correct us on something or explain the feel of the crowd at the game that we are analyzing. If you disagree with all we are saying, please do so and call in and let us know. This is a show for the people, and just like science, we want to go through as much peer review as possible. All right. So as we get into the show tonight, we are going to announce the People's Choice Award from last week. I want to talk about the matchup there for a second because it's one of our favorites, and we didn't get a chance to. The tape was not up. Shout out to James McDaniel and Bantube.hd.com, BantubeHD.com, and Bantube.com. We got to see the tape and the Battle of the Bands with them in Taladega this week. We'll read the winner from the voting. We'll bring in Rashad and talk about our featured matchup, and the lines are open for you to call in as well. Second segment, we'll talk about our other matchup, and we'll touch base a little bit on I think it's Taladega and Miles. There was a Battle of the Bands they were in last weekend. We'll touch base on that. And then, like I said, Rashad was at the Dillon Battle of the Bands this weekend, and so we'll hear about that. And in our last segment, Word on the Street, we'll talk about, of course, things that we've seen, potential barn burners, comments from the web, things that I've read from the Fifth, Facebook, or anything noteworthy. Tonight, wanted to get into band etiquette. And a couple of incidents this year where people have actually called, or one guy actually emailed me, and we'll get into his email later. But it's just as far as band etiquette goes, I think there was also a comment on the Fifth about just band etiquette and what happened with Alabama State and Tuskegee, and that's what kind of weaved it all together from what we heard about what happened last week with Taladega and Miles. So we want to kind of weave that all in together and maybe ask you about, is there a form of etiquette that we should be following here, or is it just off the chain, balls out glory, kill you or be killed? You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that. We'll touch base about that tonight, and I'm sure it'll be a good show, so please kick back and relax. Let's take the time to get the commercial break out the way. You can email the show at marchingpodcast@gmail.com, tweet us at marchingpodcast, or follow our blog the number 4.marchingpodcast.com. If you are listening live and have a Blog Talk Radio account, you can log into the chat room and leave your comments there. Last and definitely not least, check out the website, themarchingpodcast.com. Let's take the time to hear from our sponsors. Tonight's show is brought to you by Liquid Effects Photography, Block Band Music and Publishing, the Edge One Productions, bandhead.org. Let's take the time to hear from them now.
Hi, this is Avery McFadden, Jackson State University graduate, son of Boom Trump Funk Found 1997. You are listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
Having an anniversary party, birthday party, or better yet, you're about to marry that special someone? Liquid Effects Photography is the perfect choice to immortalize all your most special moments. With 10 years of dependable professional service that can deliver from the conventional to the best in cutting-edge technology and creativity. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects Photography. We serve the entire upper Midwest and will travel further upon request. Come check us out at liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Or call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556.
From photo shoots to graduation pictures, from probates to band footage, from pageants to yard shows, there's only one team you can count on, the Edge One Productions. Visit theedge1.com and trust me, you won't be disappointed.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to bandhead.org. Bandhead.org, a social network for bands.
Need to write music and drill? Get it on the field. Outfit your band. Keep your administrator happy and still have a life. Encountering drama in the process, ain't nobody got time for that. Let Block Band Music assist you with musical arrangements and drills to fit your band, and also the equipment, gear, and accessories to keep the visuals, music, and marching on point. Contact blockbandmusic@gmail.com and see how this worldwide minority-owned business can uplift your band.
This is Joshua Cousin, representing the Ocean of Soul, and you're listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
Welcome back as we listen to the Marching Aggies bring us back from a commercial break as they are one of the featured bands that we talked about tonight here, North Carolina A&T versus South Carolina State, and we want to talk about them. I want to also read the results from last week from our People's Choice Awards. As I get to that. And while we are doing that, let me go ahead and bring in Rashad so we can start him off. What's going on? The owner and founder of Block Band Publishing and Music, Rashad Waters. What's going on tonight, Rashad?
We're doing all good, brother. We just got back from yet another road trip. Yesterday went down to Dillon, South Carolina, and participated in a great battle of the bands. Block Band helped to sponsor the competition. And I'm going to put you on the spot real quick there, Joe. Put you on the spot there, sir. There's a spot. I'm going to put you on it. Okay. That might be something that the Marching Podcast might want to get into. Or at least, at the very least, one thing that we did was we provided scripts to try that in slow motion. We provided scripts to the people that were putting on the actual competition. Actually, the wife of the band director was the one managing everything. And so several times throughout the event. Block, the same commercials that you hear on your show, they ran, the announcer actually said our commercials, all three of them that we have. And
wow.
It was great, so therefore people really recognized me when I walked up to the band director. This is a great show, Joe. It is a great show, and we need to tell more people about it. That might be something that's great for you, man. You might want to think about doing that, sponsoring something and getting these sponsoring trophies and getting these scripts out there so people can know, hey, check out themarchingpodcast.com, 8 o'clock p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. We want to check that out. Definitely those possibilities. I know once we get things kind of moving along, I know, and especially once we get a little more money here in our stack here, we'll definitely be shooting some things around here. But yeah, no doubt, man. I definitely I sure appreciate it, and like you said, man, I already see the numbers looking pretty good. I saw some people already join the chat room before we started, and I see our man Tyrone and 8 to 5 guys is out there tonight. So again, man, appreciate it. It's great also because of you as well, and Block Band Music and Publishing and our beloved sponsors. So again, we want to give a shout out and say thanks and be grateful to all of those things. I want to read the results right fast from the Week 5 matchup here on the Marching Podcast Network. And I have to say this is actually the first time this has happened. I don't necessarily agree with what I saw, but however, it's what it is, and we actually have a tie here in our results for the Marching Podcast Network here. I want to make sure I got these votes here tabulated here correctly. Votes for being accepted. Okay, all right. Now let me go back here. I want to make sure this is correct. Yes, this is correct with both. Well, you know what? I guess I've already kind of ruined the suspense, so I don't necessarily. I will run the drum roll just for GP purposes. But yeah, we have a tie in the voting here on the Marching Podcast Network. It's the first time in history this has happened. Both 50% of the vote. Albany State and Miles win. So I guess congratulations to both schools for winning. Week 5.
We definitely need to look into this voting here.
Yeah, hey man, I guess enough people, we put it out on Twitter and try to, remind people. The only thing different about this week was, I did have the problem with my laptop last week. Thank the good Lord I was able to get it back quickly, and I put the poll up on Wednesday. So that's the only difference that happened. I usually try to get this stuff out Sunday night before I turn in for the night or like early Monday morning. But I put it up Wednesday, but it looks like, 50% of the vote. I'm sure, your Albany State folks were representing because I checked out the tape this week because, I had to check it out. And I was impressed with Albany State. They didn't back down from Miles. I guess let me do that right fast because I did put a little extra time so you can tell us about what happened in Dillon. But as far as what happened, what I thought about, our beloved Miles and our beloved Albany State, I was happy to see the matchup back. I don't think they played last year. Shout out to Jeffrey Gordon on YouTube for filming and putting the footage out there. I was able to check it out. They had a 0 quarter, and I ain't gonna lie, Rashad, I'm starting to like the 0 quarter, man. It's like set the tones for the whole band, for the whole game, and I'm sure it gets the crowd and the bands and the football team hype. But the bands are fresher, so you're getting some good sound. Miles is definitely louder than Albany State. I don't think that's news to anybody. But Albany State is pretty clean, for what it's worth. And they do have their parts where they may not be as clear, but I think Albany State plays well together. And I think that Miles makes Albany State better. It seemed like a couple of times Albany was out there maybe on their own, or like they had like maybe this immature sound, or but when Miles kind of stepped up and did something, Albany was right there to turn into their equal. So I was really happy to see that. They just don't have the heat that Miles has. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just that heat coming at you, that smack coming at you. They just don't have it. And then Miles, they have energy and their chants are pretty loud. They over there chanting and singing, but their chants are loud, which is super, super important. I just think Albany needs to do maybe some more filling. I don't know, some more stuff.
Wait a second. Did they chant or did they sing?
Well, they did both. They did both. They had a couple.
Then they called an L. Obviously, Albany State was the winner.
But see, I wanted to talk about that too tonight, because I may have to just stop saying people straight up, let's say, caught an L. Maybe they lose points for something, because I was gonna get into that. Their show that weekend, I think they basically performed the same show Miles did, and they had a singer out there, brother, and they sang. So the band sung, and they had a singer. They had the double whammy, Rashad. I was like, Miles out there, Miles out there doing it like that. I was like, man, you know what? But real quick, I guess to cut it short, I still felt that Miles had like a better halftime show. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself as far as I think Miles had a better halftime show than Taladega. I'm already ahead of myself, and that's why I wanted to say I was going to bring it up. I'm going to talk that up later, but don't let me get ahead of myself. But okay, so let me get back. Miles, I thought that they, other than that, I thought that they still had a good show, but I thought that Albany State kind of had a little bit of a like home field advantage. I think they had a better halftime show than Miles. I think in the stands, of course, 0 quarter, 5th quarter, the edge was at Miles. Albany wasn't backing down though. Like I said, I was really impressed. Miles would come with some heat, or they come with that Dirty Diana, or they come with something scary, and Albany was right back. Even though it wasn't as powerful or whatever, and they sounded good too. I thought that that, like I said, they played well together. As far as on the halftime show, I thought that Albany State was more precise than Miles on the field. And
really?
I thought that they did some really good formations, and then they did this really cool thing, like you always call them the step twos, but instead of the guys marking time, they stopped marching. And then whenever there was their turn to march, then they stepped out. And I thought it did a little bit something with the visual effects of the colors from their uniforms and stuff. I thought it was really cool. I liked it. And I thought their announcer was good. He sounded like he was super young, but he did a good job relating to the crowd and to the band. So like I said, it was like it seemed like it was a little bit like some home field advantage that Miles was dealing with, because of course Miles come out there with that neck beginning, and pretty much it's like, oh, okay, you see how loud we are, and you see what we about to come with. But Albany State, I felt that they had held it together, and the fact that their formations weren't as clean as Albany State, I gave it to them a slight edge, and Albany had a singer too, so I mean they kind of evened themselves out with that one. But Albany just kind of had a little bit of the better show. And then in the 5th, like I said, I thought it was slightly to Miles. Albany has heart though. They wasn't backing down, to anything. I just wish, and this kind of comes into something we talked about a couple weeks ago as far as like balancing the horns. I wish I could hear a little bit more trumpet from Miles, but them horns swallowing up everything. So I don't know how much trumpet I'm going to ever hear from Miles. It just would be nice to maybe hear some more, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And real quick, another thing about Miles, they seem to be playing little snippets of stuff too. Like I noticed that like they, like in the 5th, and they did this against Taladega and against Albany, if there was a little bit of a hesitation on the band playing something back, they were ready to play like a quick little snippet of something really quick. So let's say they ended a song, and they say somebody, okay, well, we about to go, like just it's like, oh, what's going on? This is like, oh, you better come up with something to play, or we just gonna keep playing all night, but it was like a little snippet or something, like a little bleacher feature. I thought that was pretty. Yeah, I think that's innovative for the 5th. So shout out to them for that. But like I said, Miles didn't back down. They had a really good rendition of Strange, and I think they did Skinner Man. But slightly to Miles though. I don't know. Did you get a chance to check out that one from earlier last week?
I didn't, but what you're telling me here is very interesting because, of course, that was, in the situations where we don't have the videos, we have to make a judgment call based on the things that we've seen to this point. And I know that my judgment call was, and you agreed with me, that it was going to be pretty much a one-sided battle, and that Miles was going to drag Albany by the arm. But it seems to me like Albany, but it seems to me that it wasn't that way. That Albany, even though Miles may have edged him, or maybe it seems like it was a very good battle all the way across the board.
Yeah, I mean it was. One thing we were right about is it's the guns. I mean, Miles just has the guns. You know what I'm saying? And Albany, I mean, it was hard. I think it was one time during the zero quarter where. And of course, the guy was not directly in the middle of the field, but Miles was playing during Albany while and it sounded like they were swallowing them a little bit. But even still, you can tell that Albany is not as loud as Miles, Right. And that's that initial thing, that's an initial thing where if a band can scare you out like that. But I felt that they held their own, and that they had different. What's that? I think Marry That Girl Anyway. Something, I don't know the name of that song, man. But it's a lot of bands are playing it, and Albany played it well, And so, then that sound, you hear that true balance, like you say, when everyone knows the music, you hear the true sound. So shout out to them for that particular battle. I guess we can get into the feature battle tonight, South Carolina State and North Carolina A&T. Did you get a chance to check out? I didn't see a 5th, but did you, get a chance to check out the halftime show?
I did, and just real quick, I think it's really interesting that with some bands, the only thing that you can find is the halftime. But when you look at Taladega versus Miles College, which I think is also something to talk about today, you can't even find the field show.
Yeah, I actually found it probably a couple hours ago. But it's not easy to find, I guess is what I'm saying. No, you're right.
It's kind of like, well, who cares about the halftime show? Let's blow. Versus this one, who cares about what happens in the stands? Let's have a halftime show,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But yes, I did check it out, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good battle. So.
Yeah, I always think that's one reason why I picked the ATL Classic is just because both bands come with it. Like they know that they know what's at stake, so like no one comes slaw, and you both get full effort from both bands. So shout out to Thomas Jones Jr. And Rude to the Burroughs. He is one of the directors there at A&T, and he's got
that's Dr. Thomas Jones Jr.
Did I say Mr.? Or did I say brother?
You said shout out to Thomas, but he's now a doctor.
Oh yeah, you know what? They did say that on Over the Head. They did say that. So yeah, okay. Shout out to the brethren for getting his doctorate. Where's a little applause here? So shout out. Excuse me. Dr. Thomas Jones Jr. And shout out to Screenbone X. Forgive me for not knowing your academic classification, but Screenbone X is who we know him as on the 5th. He posted a video of the great ATL Classic, and it was the links to Dr. Thomas's site. So thanks to him. Before we get in that, we actually got a couple calls here. Let me go ahead and hear what they have to say. Someone from the 704 area code. Go ahead and give us your name and where you calling from tonight.
Avery McFadden calling from Charlotte, North Carolina.
What's up, folk? What's going on, Trump folk? How you doing? Our resident brass instructor. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir, man. I'm good, man. How you guys doing tonight?
Real good, brother.
Doing pretty good,
all right,
man.
Good, man. Yeah, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
calling to check out the show, man. I didn't even get a chance to catch up on any of the bands this week. Just calling to check the show out so I can get an update.
I feel you, man. We just appreciate the calls. Like you say, man, you wasn't the residents of the instructors, so yeah, we definitely could keep you on the line, man. It's always room for our people. Again, too, if any of you, if you would like to be a regular on the show and be, one of the triple platinum people here on the Marshall Podcast, you go ahead and just call up, and we open you open arms. Like we said, the peer review is much more important than what we doing. A lot of arbitrary stuff going around, but the more people we can hear from, it's all good. Let me get this other caller here from the 240 area code. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from tonight?
My name is Tyrone McCullum. One of the guys from 8 to 5.
Yeah, the 85 guys. What's going on? What's going on with you, man?
Better call Tyrone.
Not much, man. How you guys been doing, man? I've been following you for the last few weeks on the back end after the show because I've been traveling heavily for 8 to 5, going to various games up and down the East Coast, literally.
Yeah, I know, man. We've seen the 8 to 5 guys out there. Shout out to you, man. I'm since you one of the resident folks, Tyrone, let me get to the chat room. Band-Aid, a great tag name there. Band-Aid, and B-A-N-D space A-I-D and then an E. So it's like Band-Aid, but like aid. Yeah, I mean. Band-Aid by Dr. KX Davenport. Is that Dr. Davenport? I wonder if that's Dr. Davenport. Oh, that's Dr. Davenport, man. I'm thinking this young, innovative person right here is Dr. Davenport right here. With that smooth knowledge out there. What's going on, our Sir Expert? He said he may call in, but he said, as far as we were talking about with Albany and the colors, he said bands don't use uniform color shifts enough in their drill formations. So not more knowledge here from Dr. Davenport. But Rashad, man, go ahead, man. I'd love to hear the analysis on what you thought between South Carolina State and North Carolina A&T this weekend at ATL Classic.
Okay, so South Carolina State honestly gets a lot of hate, and honestly, the hatred that they get is really undeserved. They're not a bad band by any stretch of the imagination. According to the clips that I've heard there, they have a pretty decent sound. I have a few issues with their balance. It sounds like they have a pretty big trombone section, and the trombone section can be a little bit overwhelming at times, particularly if all they're ever doing is just, let me give you some chords. You know what? This thing needs something else. Oh, let me give you some chords. It can be a little overwhelming sometimes versus everything, and they really need to tune those chords up a little bit. But overall, their sound is not bad. I like some of the drills that they were doing, but let's be honest, the problem with South Carolina State is a lot of times when you're comparing them to A&T, they fall short on some things. And for example, the formations that they were making, some of them were less than perfect. Like there's a pretty clear one where you can see them lined up, and the right diagonal that they have going on over there is really crooked, and you're thinking to yourself, like, don't they see that?
That was part of my analysis, too. That was my part of my analysis, too, like make an adjustment or something.
Right, do something. You know, in the middle of that half note, edge up a little bit. Do something. But that was really bugging me, man. From the video, I couldn't really tell what the Boggle brothers were doing at the beginning, but just by watching their hand positions and going down the line and watching them, they're a sharp line, man. Those cats can play. Like, I couldn't hear what they were playing, but I could tell that those cats could play, just by how they were playing, watching. Wow, these cats, they've got it, man. Like, I've seen a lot of lines, but just watching them play, that hand technique and the stick height, all that type of stuff, you could really tell that they knew what they were doing over there. I saw a comment on the fifth quarter that the only thing that stood out to them for any of the bands was the slow song that South Carolina State put. I disagree with that. I thought the slow song was mediocre at best. I thought it was great tone quality. I thought they did a good job with the performance of it, but as far as the arrangement, it wasn't a whole lot going on. It's like, it was a melody, and then, okay, we're waiting for a second till the next melody come in. There's a melody, and then we're waiting a second, and the horns might play some quarter notes, and then we're waiting. It was kind of empty at some points. Not to say that there wasn't any counter melodies in it. It just was kind of empty, in between things. And I was expecting a little bit more, particularly for a band of that size and that playing caliber. I know last year when they matched up, and I heard some of the things that they did. Like, wow, I know that they can play, so let's push them. I really was not liking the tribute, the Hank Aaron tribute at the end. I like that they did it, but as far as a show is concerned, it just completely fell flat. Like, I was sitting here in my house watching the.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was an accident. Sorry, that was an accident. Go ahead, Rashad. My bad.
I was sitting here watching the show with my girl, introducing her into more and more into the world of band. And, we were watching it, and I turned to her for a second and said something, and the next thing I know, South Carolina State was marching off the field. And it was like no climax. It's like, here's Hank Aaron, and we're gone. Like, what happened there? Also, the bat had some issues. That's another thing with South Carolina State. I really appreciate the fact. I love the fact that they are really trying to do some innovative things. They tried to do the Nelson Mandela at the Honda. They tried to do the people kissing or something against A&T last year. They tried to do the bat. I appreciate them for doing that. The problem is the stuff is not perfect. You watch that bat, and what's happened, the bat is more like a piece of bologna or wiener that you're hitting somebody with. And then you watch Ohio State make a tornado on the field, and you're like, come on.
Exactly.
So
that was part of how I was going to address it too, Rashad. I just say this too, man. That hurt. And you talk about South Carolina State. It's that, hey, I don't know what, but anger came over me when I saw that, and I don't know why. But
and they didn't even sing.
Oh no. I mean, like you said, the bat had issues, and that's the nice way of putting it. You know what I'm saying? But wasn't nobody holding the bat. The bat just took off. They saw the people running, so I don't know if it was a hit or a home run. Yeah, I'm saying I think a little bit more planning needs to go into that. I mean, if you guys are gonna start doing these animations, make sure you think it out so it just doesn't look like that. And you know what's funny, right quick, and I'll let you finish, Rashad, is I think they started playing something over the PA right when they were about to get into that formation, similar to what happened at the Honda. So I felt they were about to do something. And I felt like, oh, my God, Nelson Mandela, or, oh, my God, W.E.B. Du Bois, or, like, Morgan Freeman. Like they about to do something for, like, Black History Month, and I'm not going to understand it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then my expectation was just going down and down and down. And yeah, but the anger part, yeah, it just, I don't know. But go ahead, man, my bad.
So, really, South Carolina State's thing is just more of a show thing. And I think some people have said this, it's like halftime shows seem like they're getting boring. It's not from the lack of performance of the band. I thought the band performed overall, but the show itself could have flowed a little bit better, particularly at the end. It just they could have done a Hank Aaron tribute like in the middle somewhere, could have hit that baseball bat, bam, and then hit something else, and and really kept the energy going. Even the drum thing at the very beginning, maybe that would have been better in the middle. It just didn't really seem to fit well. So that's South Carolina State. North Carolina A&T. First of all, I just want to comment. I'm not so sure about the video. I thought it was very interesting, Joe. Maybe you noticed this, but how A&T had to start. They started the show with their backs to the camera. It was interesting that A&T sounded louder than South Carolina State did with their backs to the camera. Did you notice that?
I was making sure, but I was thinking maybe it was something with the microphone or something. I wasn't sure if that was real or something. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was real either. I kind of felt like, and maybe I'm not true. Please, if somebody, whoever on A&T staff made the video, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to call you guys manipulating videos, if I'm completely wrong here. But I kind of felt like that's what happened. It's like, okay, we're going to make this clip of A&T. Let's turn up the sound a little bit. But it was clear that A&T, once again, has a great sound, some of the best in dance right now. Pretty much everything they did was really, really good. Some very interesting, unique formations. Like I liked the one they made at the beginning. They just didn't make a rectangle with some diagonals coming off it like everybody else does. They made some interesting stuff. The beginning fanfare, I thought it was kind of like Game of Thrones or something. I thought it was cool. It sounded interesting. The drill stuff they played was interesting. I think they have some balance issues there, more so in the fact that they're lacking trumpets a little bit. And they just need more trumpets. And the trumpets that they have, again, learning this from Virginia State, need to do a better job of articulating cleanly instead of trying to overcompensate and balance for what they don't have. Just play cleanly, and you can come through. Okay. Mm-hmm. But overall, I thought the show was really well executed. They made some things which I thought was cool. A&T hasn't been doing that recently. Like they've been going a lot for the more of the abstract formations. But this time they made some stuff on the field. I just don't know what it said, and I don't think it was done badly. I just, from the angle I was looking at it, I couldn't tell what I was looking at. I like the fact that they're doing they've started to make making the A on the field a standard trademark of theirs. It really gets the good climax thing every single time. And then the last song, I texted Dr. Thomas to find out, what is this stuff that you're playing? Because I thought it sounded like medieval. Like it sounded like, once again, something from Game of Thrones, but apparently it's a song that's out there now. I have no idea what it is. I don't think it's R&B.
The Unstoppable, is that the name? I think that's what I heard the PA guy say. It was when Dr. Thomas directed? Is it the piece he directed?
Let me see here.
I think I heard the PA guy say that it was Unstoppable. Because, I wrote that down, too. I was impressed with that song as well.
Yes, Unstoppable. That's right, by E.S. Posthumous. What is that? You know what that is?
No, sir. Hey, brother, that's why you on the show. I didn't know what Gundam Style was. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, my kids knew what that was before me. I felt bad. I was like, damn. So, yeah, brother, I didn't know. I'm slow with brother. But yeah, Unstoppable. I was definitely impressed with it. You know what I'm saying?
But I will say this. I think that A&T did an excellent performance of the music. Once again, balance was an issue. Articulation was an issue in the trumpet section. I'm not so sure that they captured their audience with the song selections that they did. They captured me as a band head, but as an audience person, well, no, I'll take that back. They didn't capture me in some extent because the whole time I was sitting there like, well, what is that? That sounds really good, but what is that? And we all know that when it comes to band, a lot of times that's the major issue. The crowd wants to know. A lot of times the crowd doesn't think it sounds good at all if they can't tell what it is. And
right.
That's just what it is. So, but definitely the clear victory goes to North Carolina A&T.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that too. As far as on the field, I agree. We totally agree. As far as I won't go in on South Carolina State and the animation. But we definitely agree on all those things. You hear the music in the background telling us we need to take this commercial break. But we come back with Tyrone. Tyrone, did you get a chance to check out this battle?
Yeah, I was actually there yesterday.
Okay. So that's what's up. So we come back from this break, and we'll hear from Tyrone. Get the real deal edge of what's happening. You're listening to the 90 Degree Show, Week 6. Here on the Marching Podcast Network. We'll be back.
Hello, This is Charles Cheese Waters, proud graduate of Rusk College in Holly Springs, Mississippi, and father of the owner of Block Band Music and Publishing. And you're listening to the 90 Degrees Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
From photo shoots to graduation pictures, from probates to band footage, from pageants to yard shows, there's only one team you can count on, the Edge1 Productions. Visit theedge1.com and trust me, you won't be disappointed.
Band directors, have you ever found yourselves in this situation? Showtime is quickly approaching. Your budget is quickly disappearing. Your music choices are narrowing. The equipment condition is wearing and your stress level is mounting. Stop what you're doing and contact Block Band Music and find out how we've got you. Check www.blockbandmusic.com, providing music, equipment, gear, and accessories to show style, core style, and traditional bands worldwide.
Hey, band heads, this is Christy Walker, alumni of the North Carolina A&T Blue and Gold Marching Machine and one of the creators of thefifthquarter.com, and you are listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
Excuse me. All right, we are back, and we're listening to South Carolina State bring us in from the break. I think she's a maniac. I think that's what it is. It's funny, Rashad was just talking about how powerful those trombones, and that was like the main part of the song that I like. You know, I had to make sure I put that on there. 718-664-6025. You are free to call in and say what's going on, what matchup you were at. Got a little bit more time tonight because there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of matchups from last week that we want to talk about. But Tyrone, our man from 8 to 5, was actually there at the performance. Bring him back in on the show. Tyrone, man, what did you think? What was your whole outlook of the show, man?
Pretty much. I don't want to make it sound cliche, but it is what it is. It was a tale of two different stories. To me, South Carolina State had its agenda. A&T had its agenda. I feel the hate that everybody puts out there about South Carolina State because it's a matter of execution versus whatever it is. I got what they were trying to do. The 100 men of the 100 black men of Atlanta were honoring Hank Aaron yesterday anyway. They decided to seize the opportunity to do their own tribute to him. Like Rashad said, I think it was a matter of placement in the show design. If it was early, excuse me, I got choked up over here.
I feel you, brother. I feel you. Of all the listeners, too, Tyrone went to South Carolina State, the 8 to 5 guys, South Carolina State organization. So, you know what I'm saying? So, we're just letting it out. Let all the listeners know, brother, where you coming from.
I'm totally coming from an unbiased standpoint.
Right.
I love South Carolina State to death. I enjoy their show from top to bottom. But from an unbiased standpoint, you got to look at the show design. The drum feature in the beginning was excellent. Excellent decision because there were a lot of students that performed on the upcoming movie for Drumline 2. Mm-hmm. And they seized the opportunity to punch that out there and say, hey, we had all these people here from our band program plug in the movie and promoting the school at the same time. I get it. In that standpoint, you have to put that at the beginning of the show. You can't put that in the middle because then it's like, oh, wait a second. What's going on here? How can you set that up in the middle of the show? I'm not too sure. The ballot, I understand where you were coming from on that, Rashad. It was simple, but effective, dynamically. They played very well with it within themselves, and I enjoyed that part of it. But this Hank Aaron thing, I wasn't too sure about that. Like, they could have did without that. I don't know if anybody really noticed. Both bands didn't really do a dance routine yesterday at all. So I don't know if that's something new that's going to go on between these two bands. To me, both bands look like they attended each other's practices to see what each other was doing. ANC did a wonderful job from top to bottom. I was on the sideline, and the sound that they were putting out was amazing. Especially in that first main formation. I got chills from that first main. It was unbelievable. The execution on the field, like the things that they were doing to set up each moment in their show, hats off to those guys. Like, they have a lot going on behind the scenes that nobody really pays attention to. Marching was wonderful. I'm starting to love this mixed combination of high step and core style between.
Me too.
I'm really liking it. Like,
I do too, man.
Amazing that they're doing what they're doing and still putting out the sound that they're doing. Hats off to them. Like, amazing shows between the two.
So, Tyrone, what do you think? Because it looked like a couple of callers popped up. Who do you think you give the edge to in the halftime show?
Halftime, based on an unbiased standpoint of it, because of execution, A&T. Sound-wise, it's pretty much a tie, but based on execution of the shows, A&T executed through and through from the top to bottom. The whole show design was put together A+.
Yeah, they own it. I mean,
probably like B-, more closer to C, because like they had a good concept. It's just like Rashad said,
planning.
You gotta really plan out these shows.
Yeah,
now
you do,
because if you're looking at Ohio State, these guys plan their show out months in advance, like in the spring, versus the week of the event or a week before the event that they're going to be performing at.
That goes to talking to Dr. Davenport in the director series, having that yearly plan, having everything planned out. You know, maybe these directors maybe already have their drills in their head or what they want to do for each classic in the spring or something. And maybe some do, who knows. But yeah, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate the knowledge about the game. Someone here from the we lost another caller, but someone here from the 410 is calling in. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from tonight?
You know who this is. This is Dr. Davenport.
Oh, Dr. Davenport. That was a 410. I said, what's going on, Dr. Davenport? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you, gentlemen?
It's time for a lesson, I think.
Good. I'm really
interested in
what he got to say.
Get out your pencils and paper.
You know, I really was going to just stay in the chat room and not even call in, but you know, every time I listen, there's this insight that I want to give. I just mentioned the chat room. You know, it's one thing to have a great visual idea to put on the field. It's another thing to know how to chart it on paper. But it's a whole nother thing to know how to teach a band to execute it. And this is another shortcoming we have in a lot of our institutions. It's not a class in college that teaches you how to teach a show. It might teach you how to put it on paper, but it doesn't train you how to train a band to actually execute. And I think that we see in a lot of cases where band directors may have some great ideas, they just don't know how to get the band to execute it for it to be clean on the field. And the first comment I made about color shift in band uniforms, a reason we don't see a lot of color shift in band uniforms is because our bands are still doing a lot of stuff end zone to end zone, and we talked about that in the series. You get the color shift when you do it sideline to sideline, because then your full back is turning away, and if your cape or your overlay is a different color in the back than it is on the front, it really gives an exciting general effect when you make sharp turns, and you can actually use the color difference in making your designs. I think one of the most unique things I've ever seen a band do is march the whole band to one side of the 50, make a formation, put their hats down on the field, and then march to the other side of the 50 and make the mirror image of what they left their hats in on the other side.
Whoa.
Wow. That took some planning. That took having a great visual idea, but we don't have classes teaching people that. So that's why we keep coming, have these shortcomings in what we're seeing on the field. And most band I'll say this, and I'm not going to talk too long, just I can talk for a while. If you want to learn how to design drill, you've got to take yourself out there and put yourselves in a position to learn it. You've got to go to workshops and seminars, go to colleges where they do great drill design, and get permission to sit down and talk to the drill designer. That's how I got my training. At Tennessee State, I was sent out to the University of Tennessee, as well as some other places, and talk to the drill designers and learn techniques for teaching drill. And that's what's missing. That's why we're finding very few bands really executing unique things and executing them cleanly. That's all I got, gentlemen.
That's what's up. Well, I do want to keep you on, because in our word on the street, and there was another brother that another director, I think Shane C. Because I can't pronounce, I think Coughlin, I think, he was at the Taladega Miles Battle of the Bands last week. I want to slide into that topic right quick, gentlemen, because Rashad was at Dillon, and I want to hear what happened at Dillon. But I wanted to get your opinion about that on Word of the Street at the end. But right quick, about Miles and the Taladega, I guess Fountain City or Fountain something matchup. I didn't know what it was, but I saw there was a halftime show and there was a fifth. I want to get to this really quick. The fifth, it was great. Anyone that's out, anyone that's listening to this show, I definitely want you guys to check out BandTube. It's our man James again, but BandTube.com, BandTube HD, outstanding fifth between Miles and Taladega. The thing that jumped out to me, and we just talked about this, Dr. Davenport, and you and Rashad, we talked about Jackson State, Tennessee State. The differences in I guess the chairs or the parts, or something, I notice when I hear so much sound coming from someone or whatever, I'm like, wow, that's powerful. But then, necessarily you should have the correct balance of the instrumentation. Taladega is cranking. Let me just say they are super loud, but I don't think they got too many parts breaking down. And I think it's funny, just since talking to you and Rashad now, I'm maybe starting to hear it a little bit. But, man, they are something loud, boy. Let me tell you. But I didn't hear too many differences. And, like, the songs, I found myself excited. I was like, oh, that's tight. I'm dancing, but I was like, I don't know what it is, though. Like, I'm trying to find the melody here. I don't know, but it sounds good. You know what I'm saying? And I find myself a lot with Taladega. I was like, I'm excited, but what the hell are y'all playing? They are so loud. I don't know what they're playing.
And you know, that used to be a big problem with a lot of bands, and I'm not even going to say no band names, that we used to call park and blow. They weren't going to do a whole lot of drilling on the field. They were going to get in one spot, and you're going to have a melody and a bass line and a bunch of block chords with a whole section playing one note and for 4 beats because they're taking a breath on beat 4 so they can play it as loud as they can the next measure. And, you know, the actor hears all of that noise and gets enamored by it. But there's no way a musician can fall for that.
Hey, man, I tell you. It's I ain't gonna lie, it's exciting though. I was like, man, but like you said, I was like, I wanna know what y'all are playing. And then it kind of gave props to Miles and even Southern to a degree because they're loud like we're used to them being, but they've have it enough where we know what they're playing now. You know, we have discussions about Southern being loud, but we also say, oh, Southern played this, Southern played that. Taladega, however, I think they played that one song, Marry That Girl, Marry It Anyway. But I recognized it because Miles played it first. Like, Miles played it first, and then Taladega threw it back at him. So I'm not really, like, knocking Taladega. I'm excited for them and they deep, too. I mean, it's a lot of them out there. There's too many of them out there on the drill. That's another story. But, man, if they could, I don't know, pyramid some of them parts, they would be something.
You know what Taladega sounds like to me? All of these mass bands that are being put together.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. Mass band, Crookedness.
That's what they sound like, a mass band that's been thrown together and everybody's concerned is playing as loud as they possibly can. They're not worried about what any other section is playing. They just blowing.
Yes.
And you know, if that works, more power to them. But, And I got to put props in to Tennessee State. I spent last weekend down at Tennessee State attending rehearsals and listening to the band. And I got to give props to Dr. McDonald and Professor Dean Sexton. They're concerned about musicianship. They're concerned about those kids articulating properly. They're concerned about the counter melodies being played. And that's why you don't hear them playing as loud as they can, because they're training those kids to be musicians.
He also went down there in order to put the scholarship back in place.
Yeah, because Maurice took him.
Right.
Man, look,
that, $1 per note, right?
Something like that.
Say what?
He says it's like $1 per note for the scholarships.
Oh, okay. No, look, I'm gonna tell you, those horns play their music, but their music isn't made to be over the top. It's made to blend with everything else the band is doing. And you know, the sound is not a selfish sound. And what I mean by selfish sound is you don't have one section trying to play as loud as they can, and they don't care what else is being played in the band. You know, and we hear too much. We're starting to hear too much of bands just playing as loud as they can. They don't care what the next other section's playing. They can care less. I agree. So we're hearing notes. We're not hearing music, and that's why you can't recognize what the song is, because you're hearing notes and not music.
Right. Yeah, like I say, it's exciting, and I think that's what it is. It's exhilarating, and you at a football camp, and you drunk, and you people screaming, and hey man, I get excited just thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that was the first time that it actually kind of dawned on me a little bit where I didn't know, I couldn't understand what they were saying. Shout out to Brian Knowles. Because Miles, I gotta talk about you. Okay, so right quick, they do have a little bit of a rivalry, and I ain't gonna say it's testy between the two, but I think it's what we need. That fire is what we need. Gerard Howard, I know he talks about that. That's the type of stuff we need to really sell show style bands. But shout out to him. Brian was directing, and it turned around looking at Taladega like, we sound good, don't we? Like, you know what I'm saying? Making all these faces at him. And I thought that was funny. But one thing that I'll never forget I was a Crab 97 when the Boom marched in on Southern and Southern crunk on us. And my Crab brother's here to attest to me. He on the line. And of course, it was perfect timing during the piccolo solo when, of course, they would be super loud. And their horns were facing over us, so we didn't really get all the sound. But that was, that was the loudest I've ever heard series because WT had to put us in the stands because, Southern didn't stop playing. They kept playing Hey in the middle of the bar until we sat down. And people have talked about that for years, right? Well, I've never seen a band play on a band while they're about to start playing. Oh, my goodness. Miles, well, I don't know what else to say. They gonna play in the heat of the moment, right when Taladega was about to step on the field, and then it sounded like they played it a while too.
They did. I saw that video.
I saw that whole video, man.
I was surprised.
Now, it's my understanding that something happened before that to set Miles off like that, though.
Right. Taladega did it first. Taladega played 3 songs. Before, if you look at that same clip on the same topic on the 5th quarter and keep going down, and you see where somebody said, I found this. It's a 19-minute video, and you'll see Taladega playing 3 songs before Miles can even try to start their show.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because the announcer made it seem like, they did it because he was like, y'all wait till after the parking lot. Well, if y'all did it first, I wouldn't even said anything. You know what I'm saying? At least they only played one song. But I thought it was good, but it kind of gets into, I'm going to get into in the last segment about band etiquette. Same thing kind of happened with Tuskegee and Alabama State. I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but Tuskegee was late or something, and they were chilling, and Bama State
there's a backstory on that one, too.
Oh, really?
There was an interview on the field. ESPN was interviewing Alabama State, whoever's coach. But they started the clock running for halftime.
Oh, wow.
So Alabama State looking at the clock countdown and realized that they only had enough time left on that clock to get their show done. But Tuskegee had their show tied out for a certain amount of time, and some of their time got stolen at the beginning of halftime by an interview that was done on the field.
Oh, okay.
That makes for a hard situation. That's we'll talk about that later. That makes for a hard situation on both bands.
Yeah, because I saw a couple of people's comments. It was on both sides. People didn't agree with it. People liked it. So it's something I kind of want to run through you guys. But Miles and Taladega, boy, y'all something. And this email that I got was actually about y'all. So we got to talk about y'all, man, because people don't like how y'all was acting this weekend or last weekend, man. So we gonna have to get on y'all. But I was excited. I liked it. And, I'm probably not the person to be saying it. So it's my show. I'm at least saying I liked it. I was crunk. It got me excited. So now I'm ready to see these two battle again, or at least put the two of them in the Honda against each other, or and put them next to each other. That's what you do, and we'll see what happens.
Before we get into talking about the band etiquette on them, I just want to talk about what I saw between as far as the sound of the two bands. And first of all, I thought, like I mentioned at the beginning, I thought it was very interesting that it's not easy to find the actual show. The show is second. It's not that important, and that's clear by when you saw Taladega at the Sprite Battle of the Bands, where they came, they did half a drill, and they, just like you said at that point, they parked and blew. And they really stayed in one position. They played 3 songs and came off the field. So I don't know what the halftime shows were like, but I will say that Taladega, good God, where did they come from? I mean, they are enormous. They're enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 24 trombones or more. I mean, 20-something tubas. I mean, this band has been out there. This band program has been out there for years. years and years and years and years, and they have never come close to what this band director has put together in just a couple of years. Now, this is real quick. I know I said I'm talking about the sound, but I thought it was interesting that Dr. D and I did have a conversation about schools putting money into band programs and how long will it last. I'm curious to see how, kind of like with Morris Brown. Remember, Morris Brown was really big. Like, Morris Brown had 3 rows of tubas. I mean, they were a decent-sized band. And then a couple years later, there was no Morris Brown, and we talked about what was. And I wonder if in 2 to 3 years we'll be talking about how Taladega was, you know, because it costs money to keep this thing going. But in the meantime, they are a monster.
And a lot of that comes from the politics of the administration. You can have a president come in that wants a great big band and willing to throw a lot of discretionary funds behind getting a big band. But once they realize how much it costs to keep that big band, that's when funds start getting cut and the bands start getting smaller again. Now, I think that right now Taladega does not have a football team. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah, I haven't heard
it.
But they're planning on.
Yeah.
See, this is the kind of thing that happens when, you know, a college president wants college football, went to an HBCU, so he's trying to get a football team. He wants the band to go with it, particularly if he's from the South. They're willing to throw money at getting a great big band out there, but then the upkeep of a band that size starts to take over, you know, and we see colleges over and over again now getting into financial trouble. And have to cut back on budget, and band becomes one of the first places they start cutting back.
Because unfortunately, the reality of the situation is that the football team will pay for itself.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right.
But the band won't. You know, you're putting a lot of money in the band, and they're bringing in, well, the band does, but you can't see it, because definitely Taladega is bringing kids to that college. Because a lot of people that have never heard about Taladega College know about that school now, and they're going to get a lot of kids now. But
think
from
about
the perspective of just getting revenue right then and there on the spot every Saturday, a band is just not doing that.
Think about it. If all you want to do is go to college and blow as loud as you can, that's the perfect spot for you to go to.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what's happening right now, though.
That's what's happening. People are running down there.
Application yesterday.
It's funny because the word on the street, that's where all the rejects from all the other schools, not to call those guys rejects, but that's what everybody's saying. Like, if you couldn't get into certain schools, go to Taladega.
Wow.
Couldn't pass the audition to get in such and such a school, go to Taladega, play loud, then get you some scholarship money.
That's really, really interesting.
That's the word on the street.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad y'all let me know, because like you said, it's like, I'm like Rashad, it's like, man, where did this come from? It's almost like the whole, like the SMU and the Pony Access or something. We about to see drum majors with cars and stuff and all types of crazy stuff. You know, it's like, what's going on?
If you don't want to be a musician, all you want to do is play loud, there it is. It's sitting right there for you. You got somewhere that you can go. They're going to accept you with open arms.
Yeah.
But how long does that last?
But real talk, though, I was going to say that Taladega, they don't sound bad. I mean, if you got an ear that's trained for that type of swag type of blowing, they don't sound bad. And these guys, like, they must have 6, 7, 8 screamers over there. And they play together. Like, you know, a lot of times you got a bunch of screamers, they're all competing with each other and falling off and at different times and they're not in tune at all. They're actually, like, pretty decent. Like, the stuff that I've been talking about as far as them coming in together and holding the phrase and cutting off together, they do that, like, really well. So I'm like, my problem with Taladega right now is all their music is really simple. And we talked about that at our Rangers Corner today. It's like, we get this mentality sometimes because the audience really all they care about is the melody and maybe the bass line, you know? So from their perspective, it's okay to play a song that has a whole bunch of melody. Let's put the trumpets on the melody. Let's put the baritones on the melody. Let's put the mellophones on the melody. And let's put all 6 clarinets. That's a whole nother topic. Whole nother topic. You know, and put the trombone, put all 24 trombones on these chords, you know, and and it comes. But it's easy. This music is easy because everybody's got the melody. But I will say, I feel that Taladega does a better job of doing Taladega than Miles does of being Miles. So I definitely gave the victory to Taladega.
Oh. Let me read right quick because we real close to getting to the next commercial break. I want to read. I did write down what I saw at a halftime show on Taladega, but I really love the park and blow. I really love that phrase because the field show was less than. I'm not gonna say it was less than spectacular. It just wasn't all that. For one thing, the thing about Taladega, I think that they got too many people on the field. They just looked, and they didn't do too many advanced movements or formations, but it just looked like so many of them were on the field. And when they would do a pinwheel, it was like army ants. It was just way too many people. So I definitely think they could cut back on that, and that would help maybe with their precision. Please get rid of the TC. Go back to the drawing board. Okay, Jackson, the JSU is the bomb. I like the A&T. Definitely schools need to have their signature formation logo. The TC in the parentheses. No, it was really bad. I don't know why you needed the parentheses, but they at least should be mirror images of each other. It was just. It looked very sloppy. I think that, you know what I'm saying, it just wasn't to their level for what they're cranking with.
Let's think about what the philosophy is. The philosophy is let's get to the center of the field where we can stand still and blow. They're not worried about what they look like anywhere else.
Yeah, they got to come with the drill. You can't get the football team if you ain't got the drill. Let's just get that out there right.
Just like Tyrone just said. If what they're getting down there are kids don't care nothing about but going down there and blowing as loud as they can, and the band director is willing to take that philosophy, they're doing exactly what they plan to do. That's what they're doing, exactly what they want to do. What you see is their philosophy. Let's get to the center of the field so we can play as loud as we can.
Yeah.
They're not trying to do a drill.
That's
they're not trying to.
So basically, it just wasn't that much of a good show as far as on the field. Not a big show, but Taladega, Dr. Davenport said, they definitely have the emphasis on the park and blow from what we see of the analysis. But I definitely gave the halftime show to Miles. Miles has been doing the same show the last couple of weeks, so I've seen it, and they did it. They did it well, but well enough than Taladega. We got a little transition music going on for our last commercial break. You're here with the Marching Podcast, Blog Talk Radio, the 90 Degree Show. I'm going to put the guys on mute here, and we're going to do our last commercial break, and we'll be back here to wrap up the show on our Word on the Street, talking band etiquette and some other things. You're listening to the 90 Degree Show, Week 6, and we'll be back.
Hello, this is Duncan C. Gray, Director of Bands at West Charlotte High School and proud graduate of Winston-Salem State University. You are listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on Bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out Bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org, a social network for bands.
Chopping It Up is a podcast of one-on-one interviews with positive role models that have a connection through music and or education. Chopping It Up is all about inspiring our youth for a great future and providing a roadmap on how to get there. We also chop it up to give insight to anyone looking for information or hope in their endeavors. Chop it up with us on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marching podcast. Chopping It Up, changing the world through positive interaction.
Hello, this is Brenda Henty, teacher at Emmanuel Lutheran School in Olivet, Missouri, and proud graduate of Concordia University, Chicago, Illinois, 1987. You are listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
We're back here in our final segment. We're listening to Taladega, the Park and Blow brothers. We're coming back from the break. But shout out to Taladega. We want to give you much love, but, you know, it's just the analysis. We are not hating on you. I love what you're doing. We all love what you're doing because we're all on the same team, so to speak. But, yeah, you get me excited. But we are going to go ahead and bring in the last guys. But this song here got me crunk, Rashad. I don't know. I think it was the last song they played. But, again, I just don't know what it is. But it got me excited, though. But I really liked it for whatever song it is. 718-664-6025 when the last segment, Word on the Street here. And we listen, like I say, Miles bring us back from the commercial break. Got all the guys back here on the panel, so I wanted to run a couple things by you guys. But you know what? I want to give Rashad here. Rashad, we need to talk about Dillon. We ain't talked about Dillon.
Okay.
So go ahead, man. Go ahead and talk about Dillon before we get into band etiquette or whatnot.
Okay. Dillon, first of all, the competition itself is great, man. If we can get a round of applause for Adrian, right? He is definitely a great
I just met him, man. Yeah.
He is a great supporter of Block Band. And very innovative cat. Man, he's always asking questions. He's always trying to figure out how to be a better band director, man. And, you know, this competition, and it's actually it's a band competition. You know, so it's a judged event. And, you know, there's 20 bands there. You know, and it's 20 bands there in a day and age where I don't know what it's like deep south. As a matter of fact, I've heard that down south they don't have band competitions. They only have the battle of the bands, or at the very least, they're a lot rarer. But in a day and age where on the East Coast, you know, you're probably having 10 bands on the ballot. And then when you show up, it's 6 bands there. There was, I think, 17 out of 20 or something like that showed up. Great event, man. A lot of good bands from all over the East Coast, mainly North Carolina, South Carolina, and 2 from Georgia. So another thing I want to say real quick is that band directors, hope you guys are listening. This man, he and his band boosters had almost every single one of those trophies sponsored. Like, I thought I was doing something. You say, hey, I called him, hey, I want to sponsor some trophies. Bam. Nah, man, when they were giving those trophies out, you know, bam, so-and-so trophy sponsored by so-and-so church. Bam, first place drum major sponsored by so-and-so. So they made a killing because they were able to get people to pay for that stuff. I hope band directors are listening because you can make more money and not have to pay out all this stuff.
Wow.
Now, I won't use this opportunity to talk about the state of high school bands because I want to see more from our high school bands. I will use this opportunity, though, to talk about Benedict and Edward Waters College. So
okay,
Benedict, this
perfect.
is my first
Let me say right quick, on the fifth quarter, a brother TJSC, and I think he is Mr. TJ85 on YouTube. he posted the results, Dillon Battle of the Band results and videos. He posted, seems like they were broken down, Class 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. He put the results here, and he put the link to his YouTube page. I will put that in the chat room so all the listeners can check out those high school bands. Okay, go ahead, Rashad. My bad.
Okay, so Benedict College and Edward Waters. So Benedict performed halfway through. They were the halftime for a band competition, which was interesting. I mean, that's literally how it was. You know, we were going to take a break and bring out Benedict College. And it was cool. It was my very first time seeing Benedict. And I remember when I first got there, there was this band playing in the stands. I was like, wow, what high school is that? They sound really good over there. Because they're not exceptionally big, you know.
Right.
They're about, 8, 10, maybe 12 trombones, maybe, 4, 5, 6 mellophones. They're not all that big. But they've got a decently powerful sound over there. Now, the stands performance, they do not blend very well. When you hear them on the field, granted, full disclosure, I was on the side of the band, okay, and there wasn't a tremendous amount of people that were on that side that I was on. There's multi-tones over there, some woodwinds, and a couple of mellophones. When you listen to the overall band, maybe I was missing something, but you really hear people sticking out. And they really got mellophone disease bad. They've got the mellophone flu. I've coined it, but they've got the mellophone flu bad. There's a lot of bands that have got it, and we've got to cure this thing. Because one mellophone in particular, he just thought he was saving the world out there. Play as loud as he can. He didn't sound bad, but he was bending pitches, sliding in the notes, sliding off the notes. Real strong, a tritone off. I mean,
wow. A tritone? Wow.
Well, not a tritone off, but you know what I'm trying to say. You're real confident on your note, and your pitch is good, it's solid. Bend the pitch, but you're way out of tune. We've got to stop this with these mellophones because they're killing our band. But that's the problem that they had. They didn't blend very well. Halftime performance was decent. Okay. Now, let's talk about Edward Waters, though. I just found out that Edward Waters is the best-kept secret in college bands right now.
Wow.
They are the best-kept secret in college bands. I heard about this whole thing about Tennessee State being embarrassed by Edward Waters. I was like, please. I saw them at the Honda Battle band. Please. It didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
I saw them at the Honda Battle Band 2 years ago. I thought they represented themselves well. I thought the big girls were good, but I didn't think that they were top notch. I just thought they did a good job. But now I was like, I said Tennessee State, they're one of the best band programs in the country right now, and they're bigger than ever. Come on, But now I can see it because Edward Waters is amazing, man. First of all, let me tell you something. Marcus Graham, I know him well. He is he's the band director there. He is a thinking man. He's not stuck in tradition. Let me tell you the first thing that they did, Joe, which was brilliant. Okay, at a high school band competition, the crowd sits in the front, right? And the band sits in the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a college band performs, the high school band never sees them, really.
So you play the high school bands. Play the high school bands.
They face the high school band.
That's called recruitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a good show, remember. They had a good show against Tennessee State, remember. It's just it's early and it's hard to it's hard to judge those early competitions. But go ahead, Rashad.
But they were like, forget the parents over there. They're fine, but they're not coming to the school. We need to impress these kids. And so they turned and faced these kids. And they have an amazing sound. The number one thing about them is that they balance and they blend. Nobody is trying to push over anybody else. But their baritones, they're not trying to turn their baritones into alto horns. They're not trying to make their mellophones play higher than their trumpets. Everybody stayed in their lane. And because of that, you couldn't pick out a single person. You couldn't look at anybody in that band and tell that baritone player is playing that, because everybody played together. And the difference in the sound between Edward Waters and Benedict it's like somebody slapping you with their hand open, and somebody slapping you with their hand closed. Okay.
Wow.
You know, it's just an amazing sound that Edward Waters had. Great tubas, great trombones. Another thing I'll comment on is the fact that it seems like, now he was telling me that they test out some instruments. They test out some trombones and other instruments, and they were using all professional level trombones. And they were actually smaller bore, but they were all F attachments. And apparently he's using some larger bore trombones. This is another quality decision that a lot of band directors fail to make, because a lot of people, they're buying these baritones, you know, and their baritones are $700, $800, $900, $1,000. They're buying these euphoniums, $1,500, $2,000, but then the trombones look like they came from the pawn shop.
Yeah.
So no wonder they have balance issues. Go ahead.
Well, something else that happens, you spoke to something else that happens when you play on all professional level instruments. They're hard to overblow on those horns because it takes so much air to just get a sound out. So you get a full sound, but you don't get this blaring sound through a professional instrument. It's hard to overblow a horn like that. So you get a nice, full, thick sound using that same amount of air that on an intermediate or beginning level horn makes you play too loud. You don't get it. It's just solid and full. So that's brilliant. That's a brilliant move because it makes everybody feel their horn up, and you don't have no air left over to blast. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's resources. Yeah, I mean that's actually true. Shout out to Crab of 95, Larry Jackson, aka Slab, in Trump Funk. I actually had my father's horn and played a little while when I was younger, but as I progressed into my college days, my folks got me a new horn. But I carried my father's horn around for the nostalgia and for the good luck, especially being a freshman at Jackson State, you know, just carrying it around. And it was an old horn, just like Dr. Davenport said, where it allows you to fill up. Long story short, Slab would take my horn and literally blow in it so hard that the slides would pop out. That's just how, yes, the second slide, I mean, and he's a powerful guy, but just like Dr. Davenport said, that really, I guess that gives the extreme to the listeners. And also, too, about how much money that our band programs, you know, that we need to put forward for some of the products that we get. We need good instruments and good tools, you know what I mean? So, go ahead, Rashad, man.
But, I mean, that's the main thing, man. Oh, another thing, and I know some people would disagree with me on this, but first of all, Edward Waters in the past has not had any woodwinds, so maybe they just had sax. Now they have piccolos as well. So they don't have any clarinets. They don't have a thing made of wood out there. My personal opinion, I think that's a good decision. I think that clarinet is a great concert band instrument, but I think that you could spend your money more wisely when it comes to putting people on the field, when it comes to clarinets. Now, I talked to him, hey, you may want to think about soprano saxophones. That's an idea. You know, I've done it. It's cool. But I think that's also an interesting idea as well. You know, if you're playing for power, you're trying to get as much sound out as you can, why have, like going back to Taladega again, why have 6, 7 clarinets? What's the point? You know, you got 24 trombones and 40 baritones. Why do you have 6 clarinets?
because they wanted to go there.
Right.
Yeah. You know. Now I have seen bands in the past. I mean, last 20 and 30 years, we've had bands that will tell students, look, if you want to come in and be in a band, you have to get up that clarinet and play saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they simply didn't allow clarinets in the band. And you know, me personally, a band without woodwinds is like eating a steak without seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
It may be good meat, but that extra flavor ain't there.
Right.
But there's a way you can use clarinets and get sound out of them. But I won't even go into that right now.
Oh, another topic. And I'm sorry, I almost forgot because I know I'm probably going too long. One last thing: Purple Thunder is not a gimmick. These girls are the real deal. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Graham has actually gotten rid of the small girl dance team. They do not have a dance group.
So that's really those dancers. We talked about that in the first show.
Yeah, we sure did. That is their dance crew. And they can dance. And I'll tell you what I told them. I said the other girls, they didn't take it well, did they? I said, did you tell them, listen, there's a KFC in town. Just go to the KFC, stay there for a couple months, and come back.
That sounds like a reverse discrimination case. Wait, man.
Oh,
you better go to corral, man.
But these girls can dance. They really can, and they put on a great show. And the whole high school band was so excited. So I'm sure they're going to keep, I'm sure that and I'll be real here. I'm sure that there are a lot of larger girls out there that want to dance that are just not going to have the chance to dance with their high school band or any other college that are going to have the opportunity to really shine Edward Waters and really be well recognized across the nation. So hats off to him on that.
Yeah. Let me go and find out something. I ain't got no sound, man, but yeah, I give a shout out for that, and at least trying to feel some confidence in the young ladies. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about, is having that confidence. But outstanding, Rashad, man. I'm glad that you were there. I'm glad that you were able to let us know what's happening. So, just I guess for the record, you went with Edward Waters, I guess, over Benedict, basically.
Oh yeah, my God.
Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking. But as we close, fellas, I want to get into, I guess, band etiquette. I got an email here from a brother. His name is Shane with a C, and I don't know if it's Coquin or Calhoun. I'm not sure. But he said, appreciate and shout out about the podcast and about all, the people that are, the panelists or whatnot. But as a band director, I'm just going to, quote him. As a band director, one of the participating high school bands, he said the energy and vibe from the battle was outstanding, but he wanted to talk about the bandmanship of both bands. He felt that both bands were disrespectful to the overall event, and they didn't give much room for the high school bands to play. He understands the thought of competition, but he feels there comes a time when it has to be a bit overkill, and he believes that both bands crossed the line this past weekend. You already heard, we saw what Miles did at Taladega, and then apparently Taladega did it. Now this director's saying that they didn't give time for the high school bands to play. He later says that Taladega is starting to pick up, a little, momentum or a little credit score, if you will, for doing this type of thing. He says that they disrespected FAM a prior week while they were marching out. And he's saying, not knowing the history based on Sunday, he believes that, Taladega started the disrespectfulness. And, of course, we've confirmed that here. Because I thought it was Brian and them. I thought, Brian. I'm like, what y'all do? Brian, y'all starting something. But apparently they mad, and that's what set them off. But again, he gave Taladega props, gave Miles props, said both bands sounded amazing, and which they did. And, we're agreeing. We like both schools. But definitely, I guess I wanted to bounce this off you guys as far as the etiquette is concerned. And then we already talked a little bit about Bama State and Taladega. But I ask you first, Dr. Davenport, should we be, I guess, is there a line of etiquette that we shouldn't be crossing? And what is that line?
Well, we need to be professionals in those environments. See, what bothers me is probably the same thing that bothers the high school band director is, what image are you setting for those high school kids? Mm-hmm. They're looking at college bands and how they act towards each other, and they'll believe that that's the way band is supposed to be. And it's about us respecting each other as professionals. If I know you're about to start your show, I'm not going to play music while you're trying to set up and start your show. And it was, I'm sure what Miles did was an emotional reaction to what Taladega did. But even in that case, you got to stay above it. You know, Taladega right now is trying to gain a reputation, and they're doing stuff to gain a reputation, but it's a thug reputation.
Mm-hmm.
They want to bully people. They're going to disrespect people. They're going to blow as loud as they can, and they're hoping that draws more band members to their program. And it will. But I guarantee you somewhere down the line, we're going to find out that the people that they draw there are going to become the problem for them. Because you're telling them what you're about. So they're going to come there expecting to act that way too. But if you're trying to teach your band to have some class, to act as professionals, what kind of example was that happened at that particular showcase? That's a bad, how do you go back and explain that to your high school band after they see that happen? Next time they get in a game with one of their rivals, they're going to want to do the same thing against the high school band.
Yep.
Right.
Well, that's the first thing when you started talking about the impression. When I was at Jackson State and we would go around to, like, these high school football games, thinking we was, like, hot stuff, the bands, these high school bands would be doing exactly what we were doing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're emulating.
Yeah.
There was a time, and I'm sure it still is among true professional acting bands, where there was a rule for who played between the first and second quarter and who played between the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And who started the fifth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
See, all that was talked about in advance. We're going to do the band directors, first of all, were friends. That's number one. The older guys, Isaac Griggs, Ed Graves, Foster, those guys knew each other. They hung out together at conferences. They were friends. So when they got in situations like that, even if they tried to one-up each other, it was done in a professional way. It wasn't done in a way to try to humiliate the other band.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to have a college band, you got to act like a professional. First of all, if you're letting your kids do that kind of thing, what is that saying about you professionally? Then if you're letting your band do it, what are you showing those high school bands? And the parents. Well, so I guarantee you there were some parents that upset about that, too.
Oh, really?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. It comes across as thuggery.
Yeah.
Why would you be playing while the other band is coming on the field?
And the announcer too, and even the announcer when he, I think like after Miles finished playing, he was like, "All right, y'all, we see y'all. Wait till after the park, or we say we see y'all at the parking lot, or something." Basically saying like, they was got to throw some cables. You know what I'm saying?
What is that about? We need to have more professionalism than that. It's think about, and I'm going to give you the other side of this, and I'm sure a lot of people say, what do we care? There are a lot of the other colored bands that are watching that, and that's all over YouTube. Mm-hmm. And all they're doing is reinforce this thug attitude that they have about our programs anyway. Mm-hmm. We can't behave like that. And I can personally tell you that if a band did to me where I was going on the field, I would not have retaliated. So I'm going to stay above that fray.
Now, would you have said something to the director, though? Like
later,
there at the venue? Well, like after the venue? Not there, right.
Yeah. I would have called him the following week. I would not have approached him at the event. It would have done no good.
Okay.
But I would have let him know, and I'll say this, I would have let his department head know that I didn't appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, that would have been handled professionally, too. We are supposed to be in this craft together, building each other up, not trying to destroy each other or humiliate each other. See, that's the issue that we have in some cases, is one band is out to humiliate the other. It's one thing to try to one-up somebody. It's another thing to try to humiliate or mess them up.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to stay professional about what we're doing.
So right quick, and I want to get Rashad and Tyrone's take. Is there ever a time when the ignorance can sip in and it'll be okay? is there, let's say, what is the line to say, I guess like what Southern did on us, I guess it was tasteful. I mean, I didn't feel disrespected, and it wasn't like, I know we all talked about it years later, no one else felt like we wanted to jump in the stands and fight. You know what I mean? Is there a level of something, or like when the announcer says, "Okay, everyone, now you can pay attention to the field," or something like that? Is there a level?
I mean, that's one-upsmanship. I mean, what a man says. I mean, first of all, I hate announcers that talk through the show. I can't. That's one of my pet peeves. Let me hear the band and you shut up. How about that? You know, I mean, there are ways to one-up somebody. You know, one of my nightmares, I mean, one of my shows when I was in the college band was Southern got to our game early. And they waited until we marched in and kicked down. And the second we did kick down, they cranked on us. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that. But they didn't do it while we were marching. You see what I'm saying? They let us finish what we were doing, but they were waiting for us to finish. You know, we've seen times where bands will do this show first and run back to the stands so that when the other band kicks down at the end of their show, they crank up. There's nothing wrong with that. Because they're not disrupting what the other band is doing. That's when you cross the line. When you're playing to disrupt the other group.
Tyrone, what you think, man?
I totally agree. I've been on the back end of that before where a band I'm not going to name, it happened to us. We were setting up for pregame, and in between selections in our pregame, they decided to crank on us.
What?
For me, I think
who is that?
Totally disrespectful.
It was Johnson C. Smith, wasn't it? It was Johnson C. Smith?
No, it was another school in the MEAC that decided they wanted to make a point that year.
We know what school that was. There's only one school in the MEAC that would have done that.
Wow. I'm glad I don't know who that is.
I'm not going to say who it was, but they did that to us, and, you know, what can you do in that situation? Are you going to crank up from the field?
Right.
You got to do what you got to do, what you're there for, and move on past it. You know, you can take care of business later on, but in a moment, like, it's hard to deal with that, you know.
Rashad, what you think, man?
Well, I know exactly what school you were just talking about, Tyrone, because I was going to call them out by name. You know, I'm from North Carolina. And back in the day, North Carolina, A&T was the MEAC representatives of that type of stuff. Because clearly on the video between Miles and Taladega, the guy says, you know, fam, you was from the MEAC, son. I said, well, you don't know A&T. Oh, wow. I've seen A&T, you know, I remember a game in 1998, Norfolk State was marching back, you know, from the stadium to go change clothes. A&T chased them down and blew from behind them. Then then Norfolk went into the building to change clothes, and A&T surrounded the building and blew on the building.
I heard about this.
Oh, my
goodness. They've also blown on a person.
Wow.
The band surrounded a person. And, you know, I've been on the receiving end of that. You know, I remember A&T ran across the field at us and blew at us in person. But
wow.
Personally, I don't think any of that stuff was over the line. I think that was just a very aggressive band, you know.
Wow.
But I don't think any of that stuff, maybe them running across the field at us, maybe could have potentially ran into a fight, but both bands were professional overall. But I think that what Taladega did, I like their sound and all, but I think it was very disrespectful, extremely disrespectful. And so when we're talking about band etiquette and this stuff, stop it. Like, stop it now. Stop doing this stuff. Because here's what's going to happen. You know, let's say at that same Battle of the Bands, a group of Taladega kids went to the bathroom. And let's say a group of Miles kids went to the bathroom. Do you think those kids from both of those bands, particularly the bands from Miles, are not super pissed off that Taladega did that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're trying to perform our show here. That's a fight waiting to happen, man. And that's not what we want. That is the exact opposite. That show-style band, I preach to every person that's hired with Block Band, second to the church is the most important organization that we have for promoting African Americans. There's so many ways. And that is the opposite of that. So stop doing that stuff right now.
It's interesting you guys say that. When I met and when I first started doing this, I met and I had her on the show, Christine Katzman. She's the owner and editor at Halftime Magazine, friend of the show. She's got me on Facebook, and, you know, she speaks to me when I, you know, say stuff to her, so she's cool. I'll never forget interviewing her and talking to her about, you know, show-style bands or the difference in her and Northwestern. It was the element of fear, like, in her voice, like when she talked about some of the battles. Now, it wasn't fear like an ignorance type of thing, but it was like, these bands are serious. Like, she's like, where'd you go to school? I was like, oh, I went to Jackson State. She was like, oh, yeah, that's, like, serious. Like, and I remember she was, like, giving a sign, if the other band did come to Northwestern, like, you know, these bands don't travel like we do. If the other band did come, you know, after halftime, they would go over and meet them and shake their hand. And maybe, you know, show them some cool stuff or, you know, maybe tell them some band camp stories. Who knows? But I remember when she was like, but when she compared us to, let's say, like Jackson State or Alabama State or, you know, that fight that broke out or something, folks definitely remember that. You know, and I remember when she was saying, oh, that's kind of the main difference, where it's like, you know, it's, you know, we're not going to, you know, and she wanted to say we're not going to kill each other, like, you know what I'm saying? But, again, that's like going to what Dr. Davenport said, that's what people have seen. So I'm not going to lie, I mean, it's some of the excitement, but, yeah, we do have to remember professionalism because this is on the platform of our world, so to speak.
We've got to respect our craft and what the other band is doing in our craft. And I can tell you through high school and even when I taught high school, what we did after halftime, every home game, was took all our captains to the other side of the field and welcomed the other band. That was etiquette. Mm-hmm. But you can't do that if you spent the whole first half disrespecting the other group.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It doesn't work then.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to Tennessee State, I remember A&T coming to Tennessee State. One of the few times A&T came all the way out to Nashville. We played them in a game, and they didn't have hotels. They stayed in the dorm rooms with us overnight.
Wow.
And so many times after games, if the other band ate in the cafe on campus, we ate together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We had friends in each other's bands, you know, and we look forward to the rivalry at the game and on the field and everything. It wasn't about trying to destroy or be rude to someone else. It was about sharing and a camaraderie of doing black college marching band. That made us all a part of a fraternity. You know what I mean? Because we had a chance to have that college band experience. And it's gone away. With people doing that kind of stuff, that's gone away.
I'm trying to think if anything. I think one year when I was at Smith, we ate in South Carolina State's cafeteria, but their band wasn't there. I mean, they made sure that, you know, for what the stuff we needed, we were separate. I can never remember trying to. Oh, I do remember one time. I think Texas Southern. We found out the hotel they were staying in Jackson one year, and we went over there to, you know, be cool. But they were kind of cranking with us for a little while, so it was kind of a respect thing while we were kind of going over there. But no, you're right. I don't know too much interaction we had with other bands. I think we interacted with FAM that year, '98. We went to their hotel, but no, I don't know too much of nothing like that. No.
Now let me say it.
I remember, you know, back when Hampton used to do the Whitney Young Classic out in what was that? I don't know what it's called. The Classic in New Jersey against Grambling every year. I remember several times that Grambling and Hampton's bands would both be, you know, in there at the same time, and particularly once Hampton had a chapter of Phi Mu Alpha. It was really cool between the two organizations. I really, enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's cool, and that's what it should be. But like you said, Rashad, I guess I go back to what you said something earlier. If something would have happened, I guess Mile Taladega, or you know what? I'm just not thinking. It happened last year at the the CIAA? Was it the CIAA football championship? Apparently, like the Winston-Salem and Virginia State, like the pregame lunch or something like that, how it was designed, it was just not conducive, and the players kept mixing and intertwingling with each other. Something was said, something got set off, and the quarterback gets jumped in the bathroom. You know what I mean? So it's I guess it's at a point, like you said, we just do have to remember that professionalism. Dr. Davenport, go ahead. I'm gonna let you have one of the last words of the night. We did pretty good with the time. I added some more time. We did a 2-hour show tonight, but we're getting somewhat towards the end. I'll let you start to take us home, so to speak. So go ahead, Dr. Davenport.
Well, like I'm saying, we're on this podcast right now because we love our bands. And, we love discussing them, and, we critique, and we say what we like and what we don't like. But the bottom line is we need to be encouraging, go for the high school and college level, the love of each other. You are not my enemy because you're in another band. Yes, we want to do the best we can against you, and you want to do the best you can against us. But at the end of the day, we're all brothers in what we're doing, brothers and sisters, in the fact that we're getting to experience HBCU college band. And the more animosity is built up, the more disrespect is built up, the quicker our whole craft falls apart. Because if I graduate from Tennessee State and you come out of Jackson State and we've done nothing but disrespected each other for 4 years of college, and I come get a high school band director's job near Jackson State, and I want to get my kids in college, I've now ruined that. You know what I'm saying? Because we have no connection. You hate my guts, which means you're not going to give my kids a fair opportunity when it comes time for them to try to get in school. Or I'm not going to want to send my kids to your college because I hate your college. That's not the way we need to be thinking. We need to be about building this craft and building respect for each other's programs and teaching our students to respect what we do as well. There's too much hate out there for us to be hating each other. Notice I didn't say hating on each other, but literally hating each other. So, that has to change. I mean, that whole attitude is detrimental to what we're trying to do. We're never going to build programs. We're never going to build more respectability if that is what we're putting out there as showing what we're about.
All right, Tyrone, what you think, man? Or any parting shots as we close the show?
Wow. I have to follow that up.
I'm bad, man.
Like speaking out for a while,
the whole thing. I'm like, hey, I feel like a crab again now. I'm gonna keep my words. Don't know what to say now. Be quiet. He's laid out there on the platform everything that all bands should strive to do. I like what Taladega is putting out. I'm not too sure about this thug image. They need to dial it back to them. As they're trying to find their identity out here, dial back some. Because yesterday I found out that they were at the Atlanta Classic parade, and word on the street was they were chasing down A&T and South Carolina State. And these guys got a schedule to keep.
They got a death wish, yo. A straight up death wish.
And it's like, yo, what are you doing? And from their perspective, they're like, why you don't want to play against us? Are you scared? It's like, no, dial back the thug mentality of it.
Wow.
from a professional standpoint, if you guys want to meet these guys, schedule a battle of bands, a gym battle or something where that can be, visualized, not chasing people down in the street. That's all.
What's up, Rashad? What's going on, man, as you close this down?
What's that last thing?
As you close this down, anything? Oh, right quick, Tyrone, is anything coming up from the 8 to 5 guys? Where are you guys going next week?
Next week we're planning to go to Alabama A&M and Southern. In Huntsville, Alabama.
Wow, that's definitely something we'll probably be talking about. I hadn't looked. I know we did the schedule, but I'm sure that's something on the radar. So I'll definitely be hollering at you this week. Rashad, right quick, man, what's going on? Your parting shots and anything else going on with Block Band Music and Publishing?
Let's see here. Don't have any band competition scheduled at this point to attend. So we will probably be. We plan on being at the homecoming between A&T and FAMU, because the word on the street is that FAMU will be coming. Okay. So that's going to be a great thing. FAMU's on fire. I mean, A&T's on fire right now, and I want to see what FAMU is up to. It'll be a very different game from last time we saw them together. What Block Band is continuing to do, to really do the thing, man. I don't know how many arrangements we had delivered last week, but right now we're at 185. So 200 arrangements this year is right around the corner, and we're very excited about that. And we've continued. Thank you. Dillon High School was the second band competition that we helped to sponsor this year, so we're really trying to make an effort not just to collect money from selling stuff, but to try to give back. And also, I just want to say again, please, everybody, give to your school. I'm still working out the kinks, but I still am going to be spearheading 100 for Hampton, and I've talked to several people, and I will be calling Dr. Davenport, who is a grad student from Hampton. To,
I knew that was coming.
Get your checkbook ready.
Right. But we easily should be giving, again, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to all of our programs. And you know what, Joe? If the lady from the other organization said, you guys are serious, then let's mean it. Mm-hmm. Let's mean it. Let's be serious about band. And that's all I can say.
Well, it's outstanding. Show love when you guys are on, and I appreciate all the insight. Thought this was a pretty good show. Actually extended. We had a 2-hour show tonight, and we were able to fit everything in without rushing. So that felt good. But again, I really appreciate having you guys on, and it was great with you, Dr. Davenport, calling in, because it really tied in with talking about band etiquette. And, having more maturity on the staff, man, that's what we need. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, I was about to take the whole show like, yeah, Taladega was crunk. I'm all a fan. But then I had to dial it back. That was kind of thuggish. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was mad. That was halfway I was mad about people singing. Miles sang, and they had the woman singing. I was just like, wow, man. So, but again, it's always great to have you brothers on, and we really gonna put this platform going, and again, build something for our community here, which we have, but we're definitely gonna, like Rashad said, we need to start putting the money and the resources together so we can provide. So again, I really thanks, gentlemen, for you guys being on the show tonight. Y'all have a good week, and I'll be hollering at you this week.
You all right. Take care.
Take care, man.
All right, that was a really good show. Appreciate all the guys calling in. Again, if you would like to be a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, please call the show and we'll give you the criteria so we can start to pub your business using our platform. We'll play your commercial, we'll post your website on our blog, and we'll help send out your information through social media. So contact us so we can help build your business. That's all we have the time for the night. Thanks to Rashad, Dr. Davenport, McFadden, and thanks to Tyrone for calling in. We are also, make sure you check out themarchingpodcast.com and vote next week on the featured matchup. Be A&T And South Carolina State, make sure you do that. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, follow us on Blog Talk Radio. Thanks to you for listening. And remember, the lectures you deliver may be very fine and true, but I'd rather get my lesson by observing what you do. See you next time.